President Trump talked about it today in that speech in Georgia. He's arrived now at Joint Base Andrews. I think we have a live shot. Just came down the stairs there and greeting some people at the bottom there as he gets ready to get on Marine One and head back to the White House. This comes as we are in the midst of the 12th consecutive night. CENTCOM putting out a statement at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. U.S. forces began launching more strikes against Iranian military targets at the commander-in-chief's direction. The mission will continue to further degrade Iran's ability to threaten civilian mariners and commercial vessels transiting regional waters. It comes as the president vows to hit an Iranian bridge or power plant for every ship Iran fires at, saying from this point forward, anytime the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, whether it be by missile, rocket, drone, or any other device or weapon, the United States will bomb and destroy one bridge or power plant, including those located next to or in the capital city of Tehran. Thank you for your attention to the matter. President Donald J. Trump, as he often signs off. Let's bring in our panel. Jason Riley, Fox News contributor, Fox News senior political analyst Juan Williams, and Axios political reporter Steph Kite. Steph, we are seeing this escalation. We are not seeing, despite the administration saying they're going to continue to say that they'd like to negotiate, the president saying, I don't want to do that right now in this current environment.
Yeah, we're at a place where it's really hard to see how you de-escalate, right? We're continuing to see back and forth the rhetoric from President Trump really leaning in, saying we're going to go hard. And it's getting to the point where we're all waiting to see, do we see another moment like Operation Epic Fury? Do we see the U.S. really take aggressive action here? And of course, Secretary Rubio is saying that negotiations are ongoing, but it's clear that those are not going anywhere. And we're seeing this just continue to get worse. And again, you know, I'm on the Hill most of the time, and there is uneasiness. It's not easy to see.
Both sides of the aisle.
Both sides of the aisle, exactly. Republicans I talk to as well are unsure how we come out of this. And, you know, they're looking at the election, and they're now starting to come to grips with the fact that this could continue to be an issue, a top issue going into the midterm elections at a time where, you know, the Iran war is not popular. And so many people I talk to point to gas prices. Republicans say we need gas prices to go down for us to have a chance in November, and that's not looking likely at this point.
Yeah, but Jason, there is a caucus up there in Republicans that say finish the job, get it done. Press forward. If Iran's not going to take the olive branches that have come from the diplomacy outreach, then forget it. Here is Secretary Rubio on the Strait of Hormuz.
Commercial ships are going through the straits and they're being blown up. The United States is defending that shipping and in addition is targeting the places that are launching against those ships to continue to degrade Iran's ability to target and harm global shipping. So that's what's happening here. And that's what we're focused on.
It seems like the Strait of Hormuz is like the linchpin to protecting all of this.
Absolutely. You know, Brett, if you're someone who supported going into Iran, as I did, you're a little confused right now and frustrated. We've been told repeatedly that Iran's military arsenal is depleted and decimated and destroyed. And then the other day, we see service members being killed, military bases in Jordan and other allies in the region, Kuwait, Qatar, and so forth, being hit. Clearly, this military has not been decimated to the extent that the administration has been saying. And I agree with those who are saying we need to finish the job. This tit for tat, if they strike a ship, we'll do a bridge. That's not going to work with the mullahs. They are what they believe are in a religious war. They're going to fight to the end. They're going to continue to throw everything at us until they have nothing left. And we need to make sure they have nothing left. So I agree. We either need to finish this job properly or cut bait.
Speaking of throwing everything at it, here is the Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, saying what Democrats plan to do about the war.
Senate Democrats will force another vote on our War Powers Resolution to end this unauthorized war and get our troops out of harm's way. You cannot claim to support the troops while leave them trapped in a war with no mission and no end.
While there have been no Democratic presidents in recent years that have asked for an authorization of military force, zero. Mark Thiessen brought that up yesterday. But that seems to be the track in which Democrats are going to try to push the political effort here.
Well, I think that the notion is that Congress in some ways is broken, and they're just not exercising any oversight of what is a very difficult and obviously compelling global situation for the United States. They're just stepped back. So at the moment, it looks like the president's only plan is escalation, which is to punish the Iranians further. But the Iranians, on the other hand, also have a voice in this. And what are they doing? They're punishing U.S. allies, and they're damaging the global economy, to get back to Jason's point and Steph's point about gas prices and inflation in general. Yesterday, to me, what I'm hearing that's different is GOP senators asking difficult questions. We saw some of this yesterday in the hearings with Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary. And the big questions are not, like obtuse, strange Democratic efforts to play getcha. It's like, oh, so what do you see as the end here? What is success? How do you measure that? It used to be about the nukes, or is it about the Strait? If it's about the Strait, that's going to be pretty difficult, because the insurance companies are going to say to their ships, hey, we're not going to insure you to go through there. We don't know what's going on. So to me, it's like a very difficult situation, and we haven't mentioned it in this panel, but the fact is, Hegseth said yesterday, cost of the war is $40 billion. You step back.
Yep. And also, Steph, there's a lot of concern on Capitol Hill about our ability to produce munitions and how quick we can do that in the current environment, and whether the president's getting all the information truthfully about what that looks like.
Yeah, and that's the heart of this debate over, additional funds for the Department of Defense. There's this question, first of all, of how much is the Iran war itself going to cost, and then there's also the broader concern of we need to make sure that we're able to replenish our munitions. And there's, it's kind of a two-part concern, and even your hearing senators kind of differentiate those things. Some want to see, to ensure that the U.S. is prepared for any future conflicts. They want to make sure that we are backfilling our munitions stockpile, but also at the same time, there's concern about continuing to provide for the administration to move forward with the Iran conflict.
The big item is preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Whenever the president talks about it, whenever his people talk about it, that's what they come down at. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. But as far as inspectors going in, here's a Q&A with the UN ambassador, Mike Waltz.
Can the IAEA account today for all of Iran's enriched uranium and verify that Iran has not moved nuclear material or equipment to undeclared locations?
Iran is not allowing the inspectors access to the sites in contravention of its obligations in the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
So no matter what Iran says, Jason, I mean, this is all a shell game of moving stuff around.
Exactly. Iran is not going to voluntarily give up its nuclear program. We know that, or we should know that by now after all of these decades. It needs to be destroyed. And that's the bottom line. There's nothing really to negotiate over here. If they're not going to open the Strait and they're not going to end their nuclear program, why do we want to go back to the negotiating table? This needs to be handled militarily, and we need to escalate. Because the tit for tat, as we were just saying, isn't working. And if we're worried about munitions and carrying forward and having enough arsenal to carry this out, it's better to end this sooner rather than later.
Juan, is there an optimistic way to look at this? I mean, this is a pretty pessimistic panel. I just have to say that.
Well, we didn't want to depress you, Brett. But I think if you're talking about second-tier negotiators, the experts and the analysts, and even Secretary Rubio has said he has some hopes. But I think the second-tier people are all saying, listen, the economic pressure is so incredible that you're going to have world players all saying, not only to the Iranians, but to President Trump, let's get to the table, let's fix this.
I will say the economic pressure on Iran with 300% inflation and sanctions is also pretty significant.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Panel, thanks.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.